Welcome to the SmartKeys podcast. It is fantastic to have you back with us.
Good to be here.
I was looking at the calendar this morning, and I realized something that it actually made me stop and just stare at the wall for a second.
Oh, yeah.
We are now roughly, 33 months into the generative AI era. We're talking late 2022, when ChatGPT first dropped. Do you remember the vibe back then?
Oh, vividly.
Ah.
It was panic, pure and simple.
Right. The headlines were just screaming mass unemployment. Everyone I knew was frantically Googling to see if their job title was on some, list of doomed professions.
No, you were promised this revolution.
Or threatened with it. Like the robots were going to kick down the office doors and just take over.
And yet, here we are, nearly 3 years later. You look at the unemployment rate, the labor charts, and the lines are flat.
Almost suspiciously stable.
Exactly.
That is the tension I want to pull apart today, because looking at that macro data, you'd be forgiven for thinking the whole AI thing was, a false alarm. But then I read this new analysis by Felix Römer. It's called AI Job Augmentation versus Replacement: Strategy for the Future Workforce. And it uses some heavy-hitting data from PwC, from Brookings. And it suggests something completely different is happening just beneath the surface.
It's what Römer calls the nothing happened paradox.
The nothing happened paradox. I love that phrasing.
Yeah, it's deceptive, isn't it? The surface of the ocean is calm, but the currents underneath have completely shifted direction.
So our mission for this deep dive is to get you looking at those currents.
Exactly. We're going to debunk the hype using actual economic numbers, but more importantly, we need to hand you the playbook. Because the choice right now isn't, do I have a job or do I not?
It's deeper than that.
So much deeper. It's the choice between augmenting your work or just reacting to it.
And getting left behind.
Because while the overall market seems stable, specific roles, and probably the ones held by people listening to this right now, are going through what the source calls a skiing earthquake.
Okay, let's start with that paradox. Because I think a lot of people feel a bit gaslit. They see the tech getting better every week, but their office looks the same. What does the data actually say?
Well, if you look at the occupational mix, which is just a fancy economist way of saying, what types of jobs are people actually doing?
Right.
The rate of change since ChatGPT launched has only shifted about 1 percentage point faster than it did during the early internet era.
1%. That's it. That is not the Skynet moment we were promised.
It's barely a blip. There wasn't some dramatic break. Millions of jobs didn't just vanish. But, and this is the critical but, you have to stop looking at jobs and start looking at tasks.
Okay, distinguish that for me. Because on my LinkedIn profile, I list a job, not a list of chores.
A job is just a bundle of tasks. A marketing manager, for example, answers emails, writes copy, analyzes data, sits in meetings.
Mentors a junior employee, yeah.
Right. The job title hasn't gone anywhere, but the tasks inside that bundle are being swapped out. And this brings us to the most important definition in Römer's analysis: automation versus augmentation.
I feel like people use those interchangeably, like, oh, they're automating my job.
They do, and it's dangerous to mix them up. Automation is substitution. A machine does the whole thing, end to end.
Okay.
Think of a robot arm welding a car door on an assembly line. The human is gone from that specific loop.
Right. They're maybe watching from a control room, but they are not welding.
Exactly. Augmentation, on the other hand, is a co-pilot relationship. You are still in the loop. You're the captain, actually. But the tool is handling the grunt work.
The drafting, the data cleaning.
The scaffolding of the code.
Yeah.
What we've seen isn't mass automation. We are seeing mass augmentation.
So the robot isn't taking my seat. It's just handing me the instruments.
Perfectly put.
Yeah.
And here's where we get to the scale of this. The source points to something called the OpenAI exposure metric.
Sounds ominous.
It's actually pretty practical. It just measures whether software can reduce the time to complete a specific task by 50% or more.
50%.
And the data is staggering. More than 30% of the entire workforce could see at least half of their tasks disrupted by that metric.
Wait, let me process that. 1 in 3 workers could see half their workload cut in half, time-wise.
Correct.
That creates a huge vacuum of time. What fills it?
That is the billion-dollar question. But first, there's a twist in who is affected. We all grew up watching sci-fi, where the robots replace the blue-collar workers, right? The manual labor.
Terminator, the Jetsons.
Yep.
It's always physical labor. Robots carrying boxes or building buildings.
The data shows the exact opposite. This exposure isn't clustering in plumbing or electrical work. You can't ask ChatGPT to fix a leaky sink.
Not yet, anyway.
The exposure is highest in cognitive, non-routine activities. Programming, writing, financial analysis. The so-called safe desk jobs are the ones standing directly in the eye of the storm.
That's the irony, isn't it? We spent decades telling people, learn to code or get a degree to be safe, and now the degree is the target.
It is. The barrier to entry for cognitive tasks has just plummeted, while the barrier for physical dexterity remains incredibly high for machines.
So let's talk about the money, because if efficiency is skyrocketing like this, someone is getting rich. Is it just the shareholders?
Well, the shareholders are certainly happy, let's be honest. Römer cites data from PwC showing a massive productivity boom. If you look at the industries most exposed to AI, we're talking finance, ICT, professional services.
Okay.
Their revenue per employee has grown roughly 3 times faster since 2022 compared to industries that aren't exposed.
3 times faster, that is not a small margin. That is a rocket ship.
It's huge. And it's not theoretical hype anymore. The firms that are seeing this are the ones that are actually using these tools to stitch outputs into their products. Their cycle times are collapsing.
Okay, so the company makes more money, revenue per employee goes up, but usually that's where the story ends. Does the listener get anything out of this?
Surprisingly, yes. But there's a catch. The data shows a wage premium emerging. Wages in those exposed industries, tech, finance, they actually grew twice as fast as those in the least exposed industries.
So there is a trickle-down effect.
There is, but it's not for everyone. It's get this, a 56% skills premium.
56%.
That's the number. If you can demonstrate fluency with these models, if you can prove you aren't just doing the job, but orchestrating the tools to do the job, you command a significantly higher salary.
That sounds like a new divide. It's not haves and have-nots. It's users and non-users.
It is exactly that. And it implies the bar is being raised. Römer calls it a skill earthquake. The job requirements for these roles are changing 66% faster than for other roles.
66% faster. That's exhausting just to think about.
Well, think about what it means practically.
Yeah.
If you are sitting comfortably on the skills you learned 5 years ago, or even 3 years ago, you're actually sinking.
You're standing still on a moving walkway that's going backwards. Okay, that's anxiety-inducing. But let's flip it to opportunity. We promised a playbook. If I'm listening to this and I want that 56% premium, what do I actually do? How do I augment myself?
The mantra Römer suggests is simple. Think in tasks, not titles.
Think in tasks, not titles. Break that down for a Monday morning.
It means we get paralyzed by the job description. I'm a marketing manager. It's too abstract. You need to map out your day in discrete activities. 9 a.m., check emails. 10 a.m., write campaign brief.
Okay, I have my list of tasks. Then what?
Then you apply the 50% rule. You look for the tasks where software can cut the time by half or more. But, and this is crucial, you look for tasks that are reviewable.
Reviewable? What do you mean?
You need to be able to look at the AI's output and instantly know if it's good or bad. If you have to spend an hour fact-checking a 500-word article the AI wrote, you haven't saved any time.
You've just changed the work from writing to editing.
And probably frustrating editing at that.
Yeah.
So that's a great filter. If it takes longer to check than to do, don't augment it.
Got it.
Let's look at coding. You don't ask the AI to architect an entire system. It's too hard to review. You'd have to read thousands of lines of code.
So what do you do?
Use it for scaffolding. Write the boilerplate for this API endpoint. Write the unit test for this function. You can glance at that code, run it, and know if it works in seconds.
It's low-stakes, high-volume work.
Exactly. Or writing. The blank page problem is the biggest time waster in the corporate world. Just staring at that blinking cursor.
Oh, I know that stairwell. It haunts me.
Don't do it. Use the tool for first pass draft. Here are my 5 bullet points. Turn this into a memo. It might be a C- draft, but it's much easier to edit a C- into an A than to write an A from scratch.
And for operations or admin roles?
Data retrieval is the killer app there. If you spend hours digging through PDFs to find one contract clause or formatting a messy CSV file, just stop. That is prime territory. The goal is always to cut cycle time.
Do the boring stuff faster to buy yourself time for the high-value stuff?
Which is what? It's judgment, nuance, strategy, all the things the machine is just terrible at.
There's another point in the source I found really interesting. Telemetry. It basically said, don't trust the hype, trust the logs.
This is vital for any managers listening. Right now, there is a very low correlation between theoretical exposure, what the models say a job is at risk of, and actual usage.
So just because a job can be done by AI doesn't mean it is being done by AI.
Correct. There's a lot of shadow IT happening, or
Right.
conversely, a lot of unused licenses. You need ground truth.
Yeah.
Look at your team's API logs. Are people actually using the tools? How much time are they saving? Don't make staffing decisions based on a McKinsey report. Make them based on your own data.
That cuts through the fear a bit. Just because the news says you're obsolete doesn't mean your company has figured out how to replace you yet.
And that gap between the theoretical risk and the practical application, that's your window of opportunity. That's the breathing room Romer talks about. You have time to figure this out.
Okay, we have to broaden the scope here. The report doesn't just look at the individual, it gets into the systemic risks. The section on governance and ethics brings up some pretty serious hurdles.
It does. And these aren't just, nice to have discussions. These are operational risks that can sink a deployment. The biggest one is the risk of surveillance.
Boss is watching my keystrokes.
It's a huge temptation. When you digitize work, you generate data. How many prompts did you write today? The source explicitly warns against this. It advocates for monitoring outcomes, not inputs.
That feels like the difference between a healthy culture and a dystopian one.
It is. If you're counting my keystrokes, I'm going to game this system. If you're looking at my finished project, that's fair. And that leads to this concept of worker voice. Deployment shouldn't happen to people. It should happen with people. The article even discusses the role of unions and collective bargaining in setting these guardrails.
Which is interesting because tech is often seen as this non-unionized space.
But as AI moves into more traditional sectors, that collective power might be the only check on the system. It's about ensuring the gains are shared. Remember that wage gap visual in the report. There's a real risk here.
That automation just drives inequality.
Right. If I make you 10 times more productive, do you get paid more? Or do I just fire 9 of your colleagues? We saw that movie in the 80s with manufacturing.
And it didn't end well for everyone.
Exactly. So we're seeing policy debates emerge, like the robot tax debate. The idea of taxing companies on automation to fund social safety nets.
A robot tax. It sounds futuristic, but if the labor tax base shrinks, governments have to get money somewhere.
And it also mentions algorithmic management.
That just sounds terrifying, being fired by an algorithm.
It's a real concern. The app tells you where to drive, how fast to walk in the warehouse, and if you drop below a metric, you're out. Römer argues we need to aim for smarter automation, not so-so automation.
What's the difference there?
So automation just replaces a human with a mediocre machine to cut costs. The product isn't better, it's just cheaper. Smarter automation makes the worker super productive and the product significantly better.
So we want to be Iron Man.
Excuse me.
The analogy. Iron Man is powerful because of the suit, but the suit is useless without Tony Stark inside it. We want that.
That is actually a perfect analogy.
Yes.
You want the suit. You don't want to be the cog that gets swapped out for a cheaper metal cog.
So bringing this all together, we've got the paradox, the skills premium, the playbook. If we look forward, what's the final synthesis? How do we future-proof ourselves?
The future belongs to those who use these tools to handle the routine, so they can focus entirely on the edge cases.
Define edge cases for me.
The weird stuff. The complex problems.
Yeah.
The client who is irrationally upset and needs human empathy. The code bug that makes no logical sense and requires intuition. The AI handles the standard 80%. You build your career on handling the difficult, high-value 20% that requires judgment.
So we're moving from being producers of stuff to being managers of outcomes.
That's it. And remember, the labor market right now is soft but stable. You have that breathing room. But do not mistake stability for stagnation.
Right.
This is not a time to pause. It's a time to invest. If you treat this as a time to just wait and see, you will fall behind that 66% change curve. And once you fall behind that curve, it's very, very hard to catch up.
So don't wait for HR to schedule a training seminar. Start augmenting your own tasks today.
And I'll leave you with this final thought. We are seeing a divergence in the workforce. On one side, you have people treating this like a software upgrade, a slightly better spell check. On the other, you have people treating this as a role redesign. They are fundamentally changing how they work.
Yeah.
The people doing the redesign, those are the ones who will win.
The ones who redesign the role will win. That is a powerful place to land.
It's the bottom line.
Well, we have unpacked a lot today. I want to thank you for tuning in to the SmartKeys podcast. Hopefully the nothing happened paradox makes a little more sense now, and you're feeling less anxious about the robots and more prepared to grab that Iron Man suit.
It is an exciting time if you take the reins.
If you want to keep up with these insights, and trust me, you do, because this landscape changes fast, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. And do yourself a favor. Go to the show notes at smartkeys.org. We have linked the full deep dive article, AI job augmentation versus replacement.
You'll want to see the charts. The visuals on the wage gap and the robot tax debate, they really help make it concrete.
Definitely. Go check it out at smartkeys.org. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep learning and keep augmenting.